Hey guys, I want you to take a moment and enjoy a meeting we just finished about our city charter and how citizens were participating, bringing up questions, having conversations about things you need to be aware of. I will attempt to try to put these dates out for upcoming town hall meetings for the city charter review. So enjoy, and I'll catch you next time.
Okay, so first, thank you very much for coming out to the town hall meeting so we can get your input on the city and its charter and how it's structured, and I'll go over all that. But before we start, I just want to make a note that it is being recorded, so if you wish to be outside of the frame of the video, just move to the behind the video. And if you don't mind, then just stay where you are. I don't see anybody rushing away, so okay, we're good. So thank you again for showing up and being part of your community and letting us know how you feel about the charter. So my name is Georgette Dumont, and I am a professor at the University of North Florida. Been a long way from Massachusetts. I'm a professor at the University of North Florida, where I teach public and nonprofit management. I'm the director of the Masters of Public Administration program. So I get people ready to go out and meet city managers, department heads, and things such as that. The city of Palm Coast has asked me to work with the Charter Review Committee on, I'm there as the facilitator to make sure that they can gather the information that they need to make the best decisions possible on how to, or if and how to revise the city charter. So let me first start with the city charter. The city charter is like the city's constitution. It is the social contract between the citizens and the government. And this is why it has to come from the citizens, and it needs to be approved by the citizens, and any changes need to go through the citizens. So these are different than the ordinances. The ordinances are those that get passed, and then you just kind of have to follow those rules. So ordinances are local laws. The charter is the local constitution. And so what goes in the Constitution should be, I don't want to say kind of bare bones-ish. It needs to be, it is the framework of the government, and so think of it as the fence. So this is the fence of the government, and all the flowers and the buildings and all that, that's your ordinances and codes and all that, all those pieces. But the framework itself is what everything has to operate within. So what we're looking at here is the City of Palm Coast Charter. The charter gets reviewed every 10 years. We're in year 8, and the City Council has chosen that they want to review it now, and it doesn't mean that everything goes on the next ballot. It can go on the next one, the one after that. But how the next process is first we gather information. So I want to gather information from the residents, the citizens of Palm Coast. We take this information, and the Charter Review Committee has already started reviewing some of the things that they know that they would like to see addressed in the new charter, or at least discussed that's in the current charter on possibly changing things. So we're at that stage, so we're early in this process. Once all the data is gathered, then the Charter Committee continues its meetings to discuss all of the suggestions that the citizens have about the charter, and how, if and how they should be incorporated into the charter. At that point, at the end of their meetings, they will vote on which changes to move forward to the City Council. The City Council will get that, and then the City Council decides which changes they want to move forward to the ballot for you to vote on. And at that point, if it passes, then the change will happen in the charter, changes. Does that make sense? We're all on the same page? Okay, so what I want is input on the city charter. So I have a friend who lives in Palm Coast, and I'm like, so what would you like to see changed in the charter? And she's looking at me going, I don't know, I've never read the charter. So I'm like, okay, so I really need to rephrase this question. So, but I'm like, yeah, but I guess normal people don't go around and read the city charters. So, first thing in a city charter is the powers of the city, and those are given to it by the state. But then we go into the elected officials, and at the last committee meeting, there was discussion of also including a preamble into the city charter. Preamble is kind of like saying its purpose, its intent, the basis of the relationship, and then we go into elected officials, when we talk about elected officials, qualifications, terms, the filling of vacancies, the districts that they're in, and the public records and such. Then we talk about the charter officers. They're called charter officers because these are the offices that are in the charter. I know it's not rocket science, huh? So the thing that makes the charter officers different than all of the other city employees is they are the only employees that answer directly to the city council. The city council doesn't tell the head of public works what to do because that's outside of their chart. They talk to the city attorney and the city manager. So we can discuss those. And then we can discuss staff. So when I do strategic planning with public and nonprofit organizations, one of the things is I take as much information as I can, because some things are strategic and some things are just stuff that needs to get done. And this is an opportunity to identify some of those pinch points that citizens are having. Then it goes into budget and appropriations, the elections, which are on the regular cycle, and the review of the charter, which is every 10 years, if not sooner. That was a lot, I know. Are there any questions? I think there's a lot of students. I know I'm not that good. All right, so.
I do have one question.
Yes.
If something does end up on the ballot, is it a simple majority?
Yes.
Or does it have to pass? Okay.
Simple majority.
Okay.
The state constitution is the supermajority.
Okay.
So, what would you like to discuss? The floor is open. Would you like to see a preamble, a Citizens Bill of Rights? Are there anything that you don't like about the qualifications needed to run for office? Or the terms that they have, the number of people on city councils? This is the time where you can really make suggestions like, oh, I want 5, I want to be like Jacksonville. I think 19 would work better. I mean, you could say it.
What is in the present day charter, what is the powers of the city council?
City council passes the budget, passes ordinances, oversees the city manager and the city attorney. And the main thing is the budget. They pass the budget. So they are it's the body that sets the goals and direction of the city.
But they cannot fire any of the city,
Staff.
they can't fire anybody.
They can fire the city manager or the city attorney.
Okay.
Jeannie?
Yes, our October 23rd meeting is overlapping with another scheduled city meeting.
The October 23rd meeting, so these are all going to be the same? So if you show up to one?
I think it's a Thursday.
Right, and then there's one on the Friday. So these are all the same?
They're in different jurisdictions. Plus, this is supposed to be considered the first, but you already have one. So you have relisted, or the city has relisted on the website today, and then October 23rd and October 24th. So that's not 4 districts that they claim that
They're trying to find a location for the 4th one, and the previous meeting wasn't a citizen meeting, it was a committee meeting. So there are 4 citizen town hall type meetings, and this is so we get a broad view of what people want. And then there are the committee meetings, which are separate. Citizens can talk at those, but it's not for the input of the broadly input of the citizens.
I thought the community meetings were public,
Yes, they are.
so why can't everybody come?
They can, and everybody's welcome.
we didn't get a notice for that last month.
So can you actually give the dates of the rest of the committee meetings that we have to do December 6th? So everybody knows when those are?
They're posted on the
Yeah, it's
I know,
every other
but
day.
people are here. Let's tell them, if they're interested, let's tell them I'm here. I have the information if you don't.
Yeah, I have it, I can, okay, the 6th, the 20th, the October 6th, October 20th, November 3rd, November 17th, December 8th, and then the.
You're wrapping a lot of dates off. These are all what?
Those are committee meetings. But so the charter review committee, that's.
Somebody you'll post them.
Those are posted, they are posted on the website, and this meeting was posted on the Friday news thing that went out.
Get email.
Because I did see that. Oh, yes.
Now, you know, when somebody wants to get something done in the city, like a new housing development or a dog park or a storage facility, they get plans and they come to the city and they present that to the city staff.
Yep.
Does a lot of research to make sure everything would be correct and that what they want. I'll get to my point in a minute. And then the city staff gets it all together and says, okay, we got it together, we think everything's correct. They bring it to the planning board, okay, which goes over the whole thing, presentation, and we go through, make sure we hit the land codes, development codes, and the city charter. Make sure everything is legal and right, okay, and then that's sent to the city council.
Yes.
Here's my worry is, because this has happened. All this work has been done, and, you know, the reason there's a planning board, and it's got a lot of people on there and discuss everything, I happen to be on. So that's part of the reason I'm bringing this up, is the city council gets it. What I would like to see put in the city charter is that they cannot override the planning board by a simple majority. They need a super majority. If there's 5 people, it takes a 4 vote, not just a 3. Because that's too easy to diss all that work because somebody has an agenda. And that has happened in the past. If they needed a 4 vote, a super majority, we wouldn't have that issue. That's a really important thing. And there's a lot of people that feel that that would be a good thing, to include former city council member Ray Stevens, who was going to be running to get his seat back, and he will. And he feels that way too. But that's an important thing, because otherwise you don't need a planning board. You don't need all the city staff, all that work. Somebody has something to bring to city council, they'll go, okay. See, that's not how it works.
Okay, and I will make sure that the committee knows this one, but that is more in line with the ordinances of creating the planning committee and what things get approved by the planning committee and then which things are then a recommendation that move on to a council.
But the city council, it's got to be in there what their restrictions are in overturning the planning board.
Okay. Has other,
It should be.
do other people have issues with that one as well?
Yeah, well, like city council,
I'm just gonna sit on this one.
city council planning, board, I always said, why do 5 people get to decide what the whole city has? We just saw that in Denell. The whole town came out to oppose the 6,000 home housing development, and they all said, oh, sorry, we're going to do it. So I think the citizens should have a little more weight in deciding what gets done, because there's too much overbuilding, as you know.
Okay, so so what you're really getting at is, it doesn't matter what the planning commission says and then what the council says, you want it to go back to the citizens.
Right, yeah.
And what would you suggest has to go to a full vote of the citizenry versus what could stay with the planning commission versus what would be decided by the city
Just
council?
consider weight more before you just say, oh, heck with you, and just do it. Because we already know, we really have to have some weight in deciding what gets done and what doesn't get done.
Okay,
Same with spending too.
so how do you envision having more weight as a citizen?
Well, we gotta just look, people gotta get vote and know what's going on.
Okay. And, yes,
Doesn't the state have a right to use your property within limits. So it shouldn't go to the citizens to just vote it down because they don't want a development.
So the state, so if the state's gonna take your property, it's a taking, and you have to be just duly compensated for it.
Right.
They might ask for an easement, so there are places where the state or the municipality has easements on your property, so they have the right to go through it for whatever the easement is for.
Right.
But yeah, they can't just use your
Okay.
property. Excuse me, we're taking after pool. Yeah, they can't do that. Yes.
Okay, speaking about the planning board, and I'll let your gentlemen's remarks. First of all, I sat on 3 different planning boards in my life, and 2 different charter review committees. And both of these guys have a point, but maybe they're missing a bigger point. So we live in a republic, not a democracy. And the difference is, we elect people to do these things. In the old New England town hall things, it was a pure democracy. Everybody got in the room, and you all said what you want to say, and that's the way it went, and they all went home. But we can't do that. Our lives are too complicated, it's too much. How could everybody go to every city meeting, every county meeting, every state meeting, and every federal meeting and vote on it? We can't. So we elect people to do that. But these people that we elect are responsible to us as voters. So when, like in the case of Bunnell, the people who are elected generally want to keep their position. They also have people that they hear things from, and they are responsible in most cases to the voters. Some people are responsible to maybe a small number of voters, and maybe you didn't know who they were when they came in, and you found out this particular person on the commission is only interested in a small group of people. Well, that has to do with terms, and you need to vote that guy out. Now, as a planning board member, I 100% understand your frustration, because how many times we on the planning board spend a lot of time reviewing that, going over it, maybe several meetings sometimes, and it goes up to the city commission or the county commission, and they say have a different response. But the difference is they're responsible to the voters. You and I on the planning board are appointed and not responsible really to anybody. We're not getting paid, and we don't have to solicit to a broad audience to be elected. So if a broad audience is upset with me as a planning member, they have no recourse. So the public is less served by you and I making the last decision. Now, we do on some things, but these things you're talking about, a lot of these major things, they don't have that. So I think that, again, and being frustrated, sitting in your seat, and I sit in it right now too. I'm on the county planning board right now, but I used to be on the Bunnell planning board as well. I get frustrated sometimes, like, going, why did they pass that, or why did they turn that down? But those people are responsible to those voters in the audience, and the voters through the newspapers and the media, versus you and I aren't responsible to anybody. So I'm less apt to say that majority, that 4-point supermajority. I just think that they need a majority, and they obviously supposed to look at our stuff, but that's up to the voters. And I know you want to respond, but let me just tell you, I didn't want to have, what my concern was, does the city of Palm Coast, like Flagler Beach, have a height restriction in the charter? They do not have a height restriction in the charter, okay. And so height restrictions and population densities and all that are not restricted in the charter.
No, your population is not restricted, but it's noted in the comp plan.
Well, I'm talking about
height
density population.
And if that is not the charter and the height is not.
Because some cities do put that in the charter.
Right, and so you put that height limits are normally done just in your land development code and things such as that. But if it's that near and dear to a community's heart that they want to keep small, like low houses, I'm from Jack's Beach, we have a 35-foot height limit, and that was a fight to get the 35 feet and then to get the 35 feet. That's why it's in the charter, so no elected body can change it. So that's the stuff that you want in the charter.
Right now.
Pardon?
All we have is a height limit right now.
Not in the charter.
It's not in the charter?
No.
Okay. The other thing I was concerned about was the succession, both succession of commissioners and succession of city managers. And I did not get a chance to review the whole thing, but I do think that I know that sometimes the city council appoints people, and my thought is that they shouldn't have, that I'm not sure if someone knows the charter, what that time frame is that left.
Half term.
Yeah, see, I think that's probably too long. I think they should do an election. I'm thinking if it's, my own view, if it was less than that, the same reason that some people are concerned about the public, somebody can just appoint their buddy, not responsible to anybody, and they don't have a lot of,
Okay, so you're referring to an opening on the council.
an open on the council seat.
All right, so these are for the filling of the vacancies that you're talking about.
Whether it's, succession of the city manager and how that works, and also the replacements of commissioners, whether they step down or die or.
All right, so I'll put
Whatever.
that filling of vacancies.
Yeah, I think the
Now-
time frame should be shorter that they're appointed. I didn't know it was, I would say it would be less than a year, my own view, but it's just what I'm.
So you would say that if a person is appointed to council, should they serve the remainder of the seats term that they're filling? Should they serve until the next general election? Should they serve until?
I don't
or have
think
a
they should
special
be
election?
appointed unless they have only a year left or less. If it's more than that, they should be voted, they should be a special election.
Okay, so an appointment should only happen
It's
for
a year-
less than a year?
Less than a year, that's not, because it's a 4-year term, right?
Yes.
But that was 3 years, it was 3 years before, right? So it's 4 years?
Yeah, it's a 4-year term, and term limits after 2 terms.
Georgia, in answer to that, I think there is a clause that allows the city council to make a determination during that appointment when Barbosa was excused from the position of councilman. They appointed John Finelli with the supposition that he agreed not to run for office for that specific space. So the city council was able to make a determination to say that he could be appointed to that position to remain for the term of Barbosa's office, but that he couldn't run for office.
That's not how it's written in the charter.
I know.
So
But that's
when
what
we're
the
looking
city
at the
council-
charter, this is by law, what needs to be done.
I think her point was though that they didn't want to make a political decision of appointing someone and giving that person a preference.
Yeah.
So I think they wanted to appoint somebody who wasn't going to run and then let the people during that appointment time run to get an even chance instead of one
But they
person
were allowed to
grandstanding.
do that, to make
So-
that choice.
So you would suggest changing the charter so that any appointed position cannot run for that seat?
No, that's not my position, I'm
Okay.
just simply saying that's what happened.
Okay, but, so now we're looking at what do we want to see in the future? Because once it's in the charter, the charter is, it's providing the framework and the rules and how this
The
goes.
charter is fine on succession, it tells
Okay.
you what you can do and what you can't do.
Okay.
But I have something else I want to know, and that is the elephant that's in the room that no one has brought up. The reason the city council created the appointment of this board is to address a couple of issues that happened this year that have to be addressed. One of them is the fact that if a council member violates the city charter, there should be repercussion and something needs to be done. We don't have that in the city charter, and that needs to be addressed. I think that's more important than a preamble or a bill of rights or anything else at this point, to address the things that are lacking, that were the main focus of the reason that the city charter review board was brought to fruition.
and that was the only one?
Yes.
That was me,
I'll
okay.
let somebody else bring up.
Okay.
So actually then, and I would be for this, that if a city councilman, a woman, a mayor or mayoress, conduct something that is considered malfeasant in office, that they should be removed as soon as it's determined they have done it. Which would be a court case and probably.
Yes.
A lot of turmoil as far as vacancies that have arisen in the last year. When Catherine Hyder stepped down, the appointment of Councilman Gambaro, and then again, when Ray Stevens got sick and had to resign, and Sullivan was appointed, a lot of people felt that now we have a city council with two non-elected people, which the citizens of Palm Coast don't like. They would have liked to have voted for those positions. In the case of Hyder and Gambaro, he should have been forced to run in the November election, because there was a general election after his appointment. Irregardless, that didn't happen. And then, of course, they went through a legal process that allows Sullivan to be appointed. That's fine, but we have two appointed. But nobody wanted, people got up, must have been 20 people got up, and said, we don't want Sullivan. We want somebody else, you know? So, because we didn't vote for him. That's part of the turmoil with the vacancy issue that we need to make clear in our new charter. Because it's got a little gray area there, and we need to tighten it up.
I actually said in this opinion, I think that intensification,
Vacancy.
can you say that?
Vacancy.
Vacancy, thank you. There should be a vote, because there's an election for the mayor within 90 days, so I'm not applying for the council members as well. And that's true, those two council members were appointed by the council within that month. So it's like, okay, we go, but we leave you with some of our buddies.
So we do have three outgoing council members this year. Teresa's not running again, and then we have the two appointed. So I am concerned that we're outnumbered when it comes to voting. Here, those three appointed the three charter review committee members here as well. And that feels like a conflict of interest in my opinion. And I believe what he said too, Gambaro should have had to run for 2024 to continue staying in the seat. And it is laid out in the charter as such. And for some reason, it was overlooked more than one time, multiple times it was overlooked. But yes, Gambaro should have to run in 2024 even though he was appointed. So that's my take on that at the moment. Thank you.
If I could, the reason why I brought that up, and again, I think a lot of you are on the same page, but you have to weigh the cost too. That's why I said maybe 1 year or less, because elections are expensive. So if somebody, vacancy happens and someone's, they have to replace that, you put an election up, and then another guy, he leaves, now you got another election, maybe, and then you could have 3 special elections, which could cost the city an awful lot of money for someone only going to be there for 6 months. That's why maybe, like I'm thinking maybe a year or so, if there's that, then you appoint them, save the city money. If it's year 2, year 3, year 4, if they're out there, yeah, I don't think they should be appointed for that long at all. And I guess the gentleman here, he would say 2 years.
That's already laid out in the charter.
So that's 2 years. I think it should be a year or less. And then they appoint for a year. And it just doesn't make economic sense for us to hold special elections, when someone drops out in the last 6 months of their term.
What people are forgetting is that early voting had already started in August after the middle resigned. So the election ballots had already been sent out overseas and printed. Everything was going. So it was too late to have that name on the ballot because the ballot would have had to have been created and done by June. That's why there was an appointed person made to the city council rather than having an election. You can't do it in the middle of a ballot election.
Yeah, and so the way the charter is laid out, it takes that into account, but within a one, so changing a 2 to a 1, that's a possibility. These are examples of what hasn't been working, but we're going to look at those examples of what hasn't been working, and then we're going to try and see how or if the charter can be changed to make them work better for you as a community. Yes.
So reading through the charter and understanding, and for me, the issue was this charter doesn't address within filling the vacancies the issue of the upcoming election, which was in a month of when the sitting city council members were all up for re-election, and the question of many was there's nothing in here that talked about waiting until the new city council members were seated before the selection process occurred. And that was one of the many issues that were going on, was that they were so close to the election. And most of a lot of the city council, including the mayor, got elected on that cycle, if I believe, right? Yeah. Was maybe somehow addressing an issue of the timing beyond just how they're replaced, whether it's an election or whether it's appointed, because there is some financial and some other reasons of the proximity to the election, but also waiting for the city council newly elected to be seated before the thing was chosen. So it just open for discussion of looking at it to try to learn from the exercise to see how to better replace, because it's very specifically written in here, and I don't think very well.
But it's work on succession of appointed city council people for over 25 years.
But we had never had one done that was within a month of an election of new city council
But it
members
was
to
during
be
the election.
seated.
Early voting.
No, I'm not talking
So
about.
what we're looking at here is,
Anyway.
so it's how, the thing is, the question at play here is, how do you appoint vacancies? What is the time frame that those vacancies should be sitting in those new seats? And then if the vacancy occurs during a current election cycle, how is the old council, or do you wait for a new council to be seated to fill those vacancies?
All the above.
Yeah, but that's what, so this is what I have, this is the core of the vacancy issue.
Well, that goes to what I was saying about succession as well. The city manager, is there an interim city manager who uses that automatically? I'm not sure the charter defines that. But I've seen this in several communities where there's an outgoing commission or council, and they have to get a new city manager. And I've seen the outgoing commission appoint that city manager, and then the new people come in, and now they've got a guy with a contract for 3 or 5 years that they did not pick. And the people who left, on an outgoing term left, and it wasn't different. So it's the same thing you're talking about, but also with city manager. And there should be you have to, they all have the authority, so you have to limit the authority of the sitting commission or council to be able to act within a certain amount of time of an election on certain items like that.
I will say the city managers are done, you're correct, they're done by contract, and it does happen that, so when I'm a former elected official, and I was elected, and the new city manager started after I was elected, but I didn't select him, it was the previous board that did, so this is not an uncommon thing, and yes, then it's the city council that can fire the city manager. Yes, there's that contract, so if you fire a city manager with or without cause, so if it's with cause, there's no dollars attached to that. If it's without cause, then yes, whatever's in the contract is how much you have to pay to move the city manager along and go through the process again. So, good, so you'd like that to at least be discussed.
Yeah, I
will
mean,
say from the city manager
I
point of
think
view,
to
you
their
think about
point,
that.
that there needs to be a time limit on certain powers of which is, if they are appointing a councilman, maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever, the same thing with the city manager. If they haven't appointed them before, like 2 months before an election or whatever, then the new commission needs to do it, the new council needs to do it. And the same thing with an appointee.
Yeah, 'cause I will say city managers are well aware that if they're interviewing with the council, that puts them in bad spaces too. So it's a two-way street.
Right, but the new council has to work with them, so you hope you have some dynamic between that key employee, is a key employee. A city like this, city manager does an awful lot, and if they don't react well with the commission, that's not gonna work either.
I think he's bringing some interesting points. And a previous one he brought was about the cost of the re-election. But may I suggest that maybe if we have somebody who's sitting in that council we have not elected and we don't like, and who takes decisions we don't like, and we have to live with, the cost for us is higher than a money cost. So that's when I was thinking, but also about the city manager. It's so difficult to find a city manager. They've been working at it forever, and yet it's almost like each team has their own person they get along with. So would it be an idea to just redo the process each time there's a new mayor?
So you're saying the city manager goes with the mayor, is attached to the mayor? I will say that you could do that. I personally would not professionally recommend that. It's your city managers that hold continuity in the city office for businesses that want to come in. So it's the continuity across councils. Usually, I know you've had a lot of turnover lately, but I can put it down. I have not seen when a city manager is attached to a mayor, that is a strong mayor form of government, and the city manager is known as the chief administrative officer. And it's a political / administrative position because that individual then serves at the pleasure of the mayor and not of the council. So that person's only listening to one individual and not listening to the council as a whole. So there's pros and cons.
This is still the whole council who's going to vote for it. It's just to set a date or it could be for, I don't know, one of the councils or set the term limit every 4 years or something.
So you're thinking the contract terms itself.
Yeah.
Sir, do you want to add anything? I did, yeah.
Well, not on this subject, I have something completely different.
Okay, then I'll be right back to you.
Sure.
So, I understand what you're saying about, here's my thing though, government doesn't stop. So even though there's an election or something's happening, the process is already going, and I know everybody's head is, they're gonna make this choice quick because of, but if they've already been working the process, government, I don't want elected officials to stop voting on things or, because, I'm out in a month, so let's just stop everything. Government doesn't stop, it just continues. I mean, like you said, we elect these officials to make these decisions for us. That's what we're, and then it's our choice whether we keep them in office when they're running again or we get rid of them. So, I don't know about the city manager. I mean, you want a city manager to be here a while. I don't want them to, 30 years, but you want someone to be here a while because staff, it's important to staff. And I mean, And we've already lost 2 key staff members that left. You know, we had a lot of turmoil, we need a good city manager. I think our city manager should be able to live in Flagler County, I don't think they need to live in Concord.
Okay, so that's a good point.
Yeah, I don't think they need, because right now it's Concord only.
Right, and do you think that that should be expanded to the county?
I think it should be a county or even like a tri-county, St. John's, you know, I think it should be expanded because, I mean, you know, they might not live here, but we might be missing out because somebody may not want to move because their kids are young or, you know, and that's just somebody local.
I agree with you. I'm from St. Louis area, and the city of St. Louis couldn't get people to join their police force because they required them to live in the city, which was a slum. They finally said, okay, you can live in the county. But St. Louis doesn't, it's a city without a county. So now they got police officers. It's the same thing. To get a good quality city manager, maybe they can live in Daytona. Who cares? They're working for us. It should be expanded to maybe 1 or 2 counties, like you said, to attract a really top quality city manager.
Yeah, some of the issues that I've had with some towns and their city manager and the residency requirement has been the cost of property to live in that town and how much you would have to pay a city manager to be able to purchase a house to live in the town that's required by the charter. So,
I'm the
again,
best person to live where they want.
I don't have any problem with the residency thing. I've seen city managers, there was one in Benel, he lived in Melbourne and commuted every day. And he did a fine job, he asked me, but I do think that you say the government goes on, but I think when people are on their way out the door, they're no longer elected by us, in fact, they're leaving. And sometimes those decisions may not have been ones thought out right, you know what I'm saying?
And I get that part.
And that's why I'm saying is, maybe when you're real close, as you see, the public was upset that somebody was appointed at the last minute. If they couldn't make that decision a certain time before, then take that information.
And that's fair, I respect that, because that's true. I mean, I don't want them to make that, you know, in a week, oh, wait, let's make this, I mean, but like I said, if it was a process that started and it was, they're just finishing it up, I mean, wasn't rushed. But yes, I agree, there should be a time frame of.
This is actually the subject
okay.
that I came here to talk about.
All right, then I'm going to say.
I have a solution.
See what you guys said.
It's really simple. The last city council we had just decided on a capricious whim to toss out our city manager with a 3-vote judgment.
With cause or without cause?
It was without cause.
Okay.
And it should be at least a supermajority, or I would prefer a unanimous vote to take out the city manager. There's no reason that we should have the most powerful and important official in our government, because we have a weak mayoral system here, and it's a strong city manager system. They shouldn't be there because of, you know, they're being tossed out for political reasons, and by an outgoing council. And it's happened before in the past in this town. We are dealing with the short-sighted and selfish decisions of our last city council. We can't hire a city manager. We've got a temporary one that, you know, as far as I can tell, she's doing a good job, but she could be tossed out at any time if, you know, 3 of the council members get together and do that. So they should be hired with a simple majority, and they should be fired with at least supermajority, or as I say, I think it should be unanimous. If we've got a city manager that's doing that bad a job, then that's where the city council should step in. Otherwise, they need to step out of that side of government. They have no reason to be involved with that part of the government at all. They are completely separate entities.
So what's the attorney now? Is the attorney still a simple?
All firing and hiring is a simple majority.
Yeah, see, I would do the attorney too, a simple majority.
You know, let me play devil's advocate to that, because you can always, like, if you needed, you know, a majority, all people to be unanimous, and you had a city manager that not only the majority of the commissioners thought was not doing the right job, and that's their job to hire and fire that person. But also, you might get an awful lot of the community doesn't like this particular person. But there may be one commissioner, just playing devil's advocate, who doesn't see it or doesn't want to see it or has their own agenda, and they're going to keep that person in. And everybody wants to get rid of them, but you can't, because we have to do this on either a supermajority or a unanimous vote. And then everybody in the whole community is disturbed. I mean, again, we elect officials, and that's why I said if they're on their way out within a certain amount of months, maybe you take some of that power away. But if they're in there and they're elected, that's our job to elect the people to hire and fire correctly. And there's only 2 people they hire and fire. There's only 2 people they direct.
Yeah.
So, I think as a majority, that still it gives the most flexibility to be able to fix a problem.
Did you see what just happened last year? We are with a city manager that isn't even qualified under the city charter to be in that position because she doesn't live in Palm Coast. And so,
The search
because
for the city manager, you also have to admit, was not the best, in effect, search.
it doesn't matter, it shouldn't be this much of a problem.
So,
And because it's too easy to get rid of a city manager from a weak city council. They should not have that much power of just a simple majority. It should be something where it's egregious that we're getting rid of a city manager. It should not be because, she's not doing, or they're not doing such and such a job or something. If it's so bad that 4 out of 5 are willing to vote and one's kept it, I can understand why you would want it to be just a super majority. But it should be harder to get rid of a city manager than it is to hire one.
So most charter-
The reason you need 4 out of 5 votes to get rid of the city manager is in case it keeps the city council from being corrupt. Because corruption can get into a city council. We had one last time. We had 3 people that just, they're gone now. But it keeps the city council from making rash, jumping decision because somebody's got a hair up their butt. Okay?
So
That's why you need the 4.
I have experience with this one, but when we redid our city, I was elected officials, we didn't have a committee, the elected officials, we redid the full charter review, so it's long past due. And that is something that I did push for, was a supermajority, because to protect the administrative from the politics. But the flip side, and so the majority of city managers can be voted in by a simple majority and out by a simple majority. Throughout Florida, that's the rules, it's a majority. There are some where it is a supermajority, and like for me, it was just the politics that were playing it was the politics that you could see. It didn't take much to get rid of an excellent city manager if the city manager did. So that is definitely a community choice. And it goes back to the community regardless.
The supermajority is a much better thing than unanimous. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would never go with the unanimous vote.
You'll never get rid of the person.
Because if you look at the last city manager, the same people that made the motion to vote them out actually asked her to be the acting city manager when they got rid of the one for that.
So I will say that.
So it's kind of weird. I mean, they're the ones that asked her to step up to that position.
Even with a supermajority though, there are downsides about that, because then the city manager is apt to, if you are in the minority of the supermajority, the city manager could just not listen to what your concerns are. And they just pay attention to the supermajority. They know the numbers that they need to keep happy, and they keep those numbers happy. So that's the flip side. So everything's always a pros and cons, and so you just have to decide what's going to be best for Palm Coast. And this is the Charter Review Committee will go into all of this, I'm sure, with vigor. All right, so city manager, the vacancies. Anna, did you want to, or did Hank? Okay.
Is it possible to add in the charter something like a percentage limit of the residential growth per year?
I do not believe you can. Growth of eliminate the percentage of population growth per year. Because the state of Florida is really trying to attract people, That's a question for your lawyer on how the city could go about. I don't see a legal mechanism to like close down the bridges.
It's private property rights, you
Right,
can't
you-
tell
you
people they
can't-
can't build.
And it all depends on your comp plan, where the residential, the environment, all that stuff. As long as it fits within the comp plan and your land development codes, it can be done. Unless you're asking for an exception, that's a different thing. So that's something that you need to look at your comprehensive plan. That said, you want to go back to your comprehensive plan and your land development code, you also have to make sure that you are not taking value away from any private property holder. So you can't turn a multifamily property zone into a single-family property zone because you're taking value away from the landowner. So there's a lot of legal guardrails for property rights in Florida.
I agree that the primary council members can do a lot of damage before they head out, and the firing a manager and putting in somebody else, appointing somebody else, the new administration would have a difficult time trying to put in somebody that they're comfortable with. So that's another issue for that supervisor to do.
All right, so we,
New subject? Can we go to it? Can we
Yeah,
move on
I-
to something else?
yeah, I think that one's,
In section 4, it talks about the composition of the 4 districts.
yep.
It also says they're supposed to do a reevaluation every 10 years?
Every 10 years. When
The
you do a
census.
census, every time there's a census done,
Okay.
they then have to make sure that all of the districts are of equal population.
So was that done in 2020?
Yeah, 2021, yes,
Yeah, okay.
August 2021.
Because our growth is happening a lot quicker than every 10 years. And I know that subject came up talking about getting rid of the districts and just having them all, what's the term?
At large.
At large, thank you, or to add others.
Yeah, and so you want to have that conversation? Do you like having districts? So right now, how it stands right now is the 4 members of the city council, mayor runs at large, 4 members have to live in the district that they're running in, but they're voted at large. Everybody's happy with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay. And it's every 10 years is because that's the only time that you actually do a census.
So far.
And you need to have the census. And you need to have the census to be able to determine.
Sure.
Yeah,
Well,
that's why it's every 10 years.
I'm for it, I just wanted to know
Okay.
if one district gets huge with a lot of people, there are some burdens
Right.
of,
You can only be 2.5% above or 2.5% below the average.
oh, it does?
Yeah, they're very strict how you can do it.
Yeah, but that's the redistricting part. If it happens in between, one area is going to be less representative than the other.
Sure.
But that's just how it works across the country.
So I know right now, District 3 has got several thousand new homes being built.
Mhm.
And this is gonna put us way bigger than other districts. So maybe they ought to chop it in half.
Yeah, you can only do it through the census though. The census that figure it out where all the people are.
And the concern with that is, once elected, a lot of the officials are going at large. They're not sticking to their districts, they're not supporting their districts, representing their districts, and they're out dealing with somebody else's district.
Well, that gets back to if they're voted at large, then they represent at large. Now, if they're voted in district, they're more likely to listen to their district than the at large.
No, I agree with what Jamie's saying. Every city council member sitting on the board today has made it very clear they represent all of us in an at-large participation. Meaning, if you call from District 3 to talk to and you can't reach them, and you call District 1 and you get help, you're still getting help.
Right,
So there is no
right, that's
check and balance.
But that ends up being the balance.
Oh, yeah.
So If you are a district member and you're voted on at large, you're going to listen to at large. If you are a district member and you're voted only in the district, you listen to your district. So it's what you, but if you have the at-large people, if you can't get in touch with your district person, you have 3 others and a mayor. So again, there's no right or wrong, it's what works for Palm Coast.
I think that the way it's set up works very well, and you do that in the county. The reason why I think it works well is that while you're voting, you have to live in a district, you represent everybody, which means you're accountable to everybody, and you're hearing everybody's concern. But hopefully, if you live in the C-section, and there's a particular issue with the C-section, it's affecting you, and your neighbors, and you're hearing it from your people because you're there. So you're taking that maybe to the board quicker than if you lived out on the west side of the district.
I don't see the purpose of district.
You know, the purpose of districts.
Yes.
Of having to live one person.
Everything related to district, because if the vote is at large, you just live below your district when you run, and after that it doesn't seem to matter anymore.
Well, you have to know, technically you don't have to know your district even when you're running, because you're running at large. You have to know your district where you buy your house.
Yes, but if you run, that, for example, we have 3 seats open right now, and that's by district, so if you don't live in a district, you can't run it down.
Right, and that's the hope there is that you have people living in different parts of the city, and not so the whole council's not from like one block
So for
within the city.
example, if everybody lived in the C-section and they all wanted their swales cleaned out, and everybody ran to the C-section, of course they're gonna vote, they're probably gonna vote to tax all of us to do it too. So you wanna spread it out throughout the community. If you don't wanna be in just one block, because it could be everybody in the C-section, and they all want their swales cleaned out. Well, obviously, that's how they're gonna vote, so that, I wouldn't want that, why do I want, I'm the artisan. So you want to spread that out throughout the city of Palm Coast. That's the whole point of having the districts, even though you're voting at large, having these districts in areas, people in different areas.
And they can be like me, I have to have people show up at my house knocking that they have concerns.
Morning, you can't move once you've been elected, you're stuck in your
Yes.
house.
Correct. You can move within your district.
The city manager could move if we say that he has to, or she has to live in the county, so why not the city council members just live in the city?
Just like you said, you don't want everybody from the C-section all on your council, and they're all voting to get their needs done, and everybody that's.
Yeah, but I understand that, but once you're elected, why would you have
Everyone who's
to?
flooding, they're still gonna be flooding.
Right.
If the limits are changed, the districts are changed because of new population, I mean, do you have to move?
You can, so when they redistrict, they do try and keep, if you're there, you don't try and knock people out. But there are times where you can get redistricted out of your district. You see this at the federal level more than the local. But it is a possibility. So if you want to run for office, make sure you are really living in your district, not on the edges.
Element, we actually made sure that there were 2 active file cans in 2021.
And
We
you
made
have
sure that they stayed in the district they filed. So
Right.
if you have a good districting commission, they'll make sure they're not gonna do that to anybody.
Right. So it's a balance. Okay, so we have districts. We have vacancies. Yes.
In section 4.2, term of office, I need clarification.
Yes.
It says no city member, council member, or mayor may serve more than 2 consecutive 4 terms in the same seat.
Correct. So you
if
can
I'm
have,
in District 3, is that a seat? Is District 4 a seat?
so technically as written, you could be in the one that has the 3, you move from seat, you'd also have to move.
I know.
So you have to actually move your house to live in the district to live in that one. But I I believe this was the city I was working with, that I did ask that, so you can do your 8 years as a council member, and then
Run for
write
mayor.
then an immediate 8 years as mayor. And then the committee, was that this one? Or was it the last one?
That was the last one.
Yeah. And then after you finish your 8 years.
So
as
are
a-
you happy with that? So it's
So, Doc, so
Because
to
it-
clarify, after you've done your 8 years as mayor, you could run for city council again because it's not
In your own
consecutive.
You could,
In your own district.
but, I mean, it's not like this town is running like Franklin Roosevelt level people, that they're gonna be, getting these landslide elections over and over again. If they're that good, I wouldn't have a problem with them.
I'm
Yeah.
just bringing up what it
Yeah.
says for conversation. We want to keep the good ones and
Yeah,
get rid
that's,
of the bad
it's up to us
You're
as
looking for
voters.
limits, that
to
means
pick
that you're
what-
limiting what people can choose.
Yeah, but you know what, a lot of people vote on name recognition, and they absolutely don't know what's going on in the city. So we've had, like in the county, we had a particular nice man, and he was there for 17 years because everybody knew his name, but not necessarily dive deep into the issues. And I think that the term limit idea was that, this isn't an appointed for life type of position. So I think you should get 2 terms, whether it's the mayor, whether it's the city council, in any district. If you've been there for 8 years, 2 full terms. If you filled in a term, you could then do, you could maybe get 10 years out of it or whatever. But
That's a pretty
enough
big
time.
gap, though, to ask for name recognition to be a part of the city council and everything, so you're gonna have, I mean, we haven't had a real problem here with the same people
Problems
bouncing.
arise though, right?
Yeah, they do, but it would have to be an actual problem before you have to rewrite the charter over it. We've got a term limit, and we've got to start having a little faith in the voters, rather than trying to push them into some way.
I don't.
That's part of a democracy. That's all there is
All
to
right,
it.
sir.
How's that balance? I agree, that's fine, you want to run your 8 years here and then move to another district. But we had the issue last year, I think, where people were actually moving into a district just so they could run to that office in that district. So, oh no, you just moved in, you have to be here a certain amount of time. So how's that conflict, or does it conflict with that?
Okay, so there, and I don't recall if
It's
the.
1 year, I believe.
From your.
Well, I know it's the
So-
Thomas Darrow border was the one they were talking about. I think there's somebody else too, they talked about that. They just moved in, but he still was in the city, but moved into that district to run in it. So again, is that because he wasn't in office, or maybe it's different because they are in office, moved in?
Because he was running.
So,
There is a specification for how long you have to live in that district.
okay. Which would mean that would eliminate those.
And so you could actually, what you could look at, you said it's 1 year here?
I think.
Okay,
I wouldn't
so-
want to say my life, but I think it's 1 year. I didn't really sure what, I apologize.
Oh, I did, but
I was just considering.
So the district is 1 year. Are you happy with somebody having to live in the district for 1 year before running in
What's
it?
in the charter now? I don't think there's any.
That's not a charter.
I thought it was like an hour, because they were renting properties. What? I don't think there is.
All right, so there's currently no time minimum for
Yeah, see.
living in district.
There's no
No,
time, you
he
just
was
gotta rent a house.
looking for
So if
a
there-
house to rent.
I don't have time to read through this all right now, but
There really should be a time limit.
so you think that you should,
1 year is.
1 year?
Oh,
So
yeah.
would everybody be more comfortable that, get to live in the district for 1 year, qualified to run?
Qualified.
Because they know a lot more about the city at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, if they move here tomorrow and try to run the next day, they don't know anything about this town.
All right, and so how I've seen that in other places, it's that time is to qualify. So you have to be in there for 1 year when you file your papers, and then they check the day that you moved in.
When the sunshine of
What about at least living in the city? Not just the city.
All right, so let's get some comments on that. Instead of just the district, what about the city? Do you have to live in the city for 1 year, or do you have to live in the district that you're running in for 1 year?
The district you're running.
Well,
So you-
if
you're
we're voting
for the
at large, I think either or, it's a either or situation. If you're in the city for a year, but then you have to move to a certain district, and then, all of a sudden somebody asks you to run, or you decide that you want to serve, as long as you were in the city for that 1 year,
Yeah.
I don't
Okay,
think,
so-
because it should be either or.
So the mayor is at large, but the 4 city council, district council have to be in their district and actually be in the district at least 45 weeks out of the
Weeks out
year.
of the year, so that's once they're already living there, so they have to be there. But that's not to qualify
And
to run.
they have to stay in their district for the total length of their term.
Okay, so I will pass along the time in city district.
Is there a requirement for an appointee to be a city resident?
Yes, if you're gonna sit on the board, you have to be a city,
You're-
a voter of the city, an elector.
So it is important that we realize that we're pro candidates who want to be open to finding candidates that fit, that want to run for office. So the 1 year, the reason that, yes, but also in the city is something at least worth discussing.
The 1 year is typical for a lot of
Yeah.
charities. It's very typical, and I think that stops, somebody or special interest group really. I'm bringing somebody in last minute to try to be, to bring him in. We wanna, have this election with a lot of money behind this guy. He came in from Georgia, and, we wanna get him here, and he doesn't win, he leaves. But if he wins, he's gonna stay in that thing for,
So the chat.
I'm not talking about anybody.
You said Georgia.
So right now, the charter doesn't specify a length of time.
Right,
In
the district to qualify.
Right.
It's like,
I'd like to see a special provision for the city council members who would have been elected because they apply widely in one district. And let's imagine that that person's been elected for 4 years. And the next 2 years, the population has exploded and suddenly the district changed. And that person who was elected is not in the right district anymore. So a special provision that council member may not be kicked out of office because of the change of district due to population growth.
Well, it was mentioned that the redistricting committee does take that into consideration, but I can see that there would be times that it's so difficult to get the gerrymander.
It actually, the chairman of the district commission in 2011 actually did district a active file candidate out of the district. So it did happen.
Yeah, that could be politically motivated as well.
Yeah, that would be too easy, one person, you kick that person out of his district and voila.
Okay, so I'll mention that one, they can discuss that. All right.
Okay, I got another one. You guys all remember the Zoom fiasco with Connor, with Dave Sullivan? We were that close to having a city council, a city manager, and he was mishearing. I did some research, and I believe that we need to strengthen the attendance on, not workshops, but on business meetings, and to have at least the board discuss what are the criteria for a vote happening over Zoom.
Don't we already have
No,
3 meetings, and if you're not excused, you're out?
that is true, but
That's.
you're not considered excused if you can come in on Zoom,
or on a phone call.
or on a phone call. So the state has specified, thanks to COVID, that Zoom attendance is acceptable, but there's a lot of caveats to it as far as
They repealed that.
Oh,
The governor repealed it.
They repealed part of it.
part of it.
So you can't use Zoom or a phone for giving a forum. they can't vote, but they can be part of the conversation. So like there are a lot of
Well, if
pieces.
that is
Yeah.
true, then David, which no one got selected based on, I just want to bring up that.
Okay.
I think one of the other sides of that
It was a
coin
mess.
is, if you have a pandemic or a really bad hurricane or any other issue that prevents elected officials necessarily getting together, that was a way of still conducting business. But I agree that, I mean, I've sat on meetings with the other member on Zoom, it's very distracting and no one's getting all the information. It's not a great way to do it.
Okay, so the committee will discuss this. I want to go back to the first piece was the attendance, strengthening the attendance for the business meetings and the commission. So if they miss a
If
certain
they have to
amount.
do a vote.
If-
The
okay,
workshop, but if they're gonna do a vote, it's gonna impact, make a decision, I think the charter has an opportunity to possibly
Yes, and if they.
clarify presence
So-
or audibility, or like you said, that kind of, just putting it out there as a.
Right, so what I've seen in some charters is if a council member is absent more than 3 times, they can be removed.
That's in here.
They can be removed from council, but then if it's a non-excused absence, but the rules for the excusing. But what are the rules for excusing of the city council? But you also don't want to put too much in the charter, because then your hands are tied that if you need to call a vote, you're not able to do that. So, at some of these would be great for council policies, that council would change what works for them. But this is a great thing for the committee to discuss at one of their meetings on the requirements for attending voting meetings and face-to-face online Zoom, however it is.
Yeah, I wish we had the charter so I could look at all the time. Does everybody else have one?
I've got an extra copy if you want.
Oh, that's mine.
No, that's your
Yeah,
copy.
that's one of my notes.
If you got a phone, you can pull it up. Right, just,
Okay, so then we've gone into that, charter officers, we talked about qualifications, terms, filling of vacancies, that was a hot one, districts, we talked about that. Elections, happy with your elections?
yeah, it's surprisingly well run for a small town, smaller community. I've never had to wait that long to vote, and they're very clear on what you need when you get there, so.
Thank Katie Lenhart.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then the charter review every 10 years, if not sooner?
Every 10 years, so about, yeah.
Yeah, right now it's at 10, so.
Yeah, it seems-
Right now we're at the 8 point because it was called.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was a need for it to bring it earlier because there was such a fiasco with what happens, the appointed members and all that. So it had to be clarified so it never happens again. So there should be an option to bring it earlier than 10 years.
Yep, yeah, and there is currently that, it's like 10 years or earlier if called by council. I do want to note that there is no such thing as the perfect charter. So whatever comes out, it's not going to be perfect. That's why there's always the ability to amend the charter. There's no such thing as a perfect, and there are no 2 charters that are exactly alike because there are no 2 communities that are exactly alike. So this is what can work for you with what you could possibly conceive could happen, but there's a whole bunch of other things out there that are on cell phone. There are things that I know, there are things that I know that I know, there are things that I know that I don't know, there are things that I don't know that I know, and there are things that I don't know that I don't know. There's that last one that you can't plan for that because you're just not thinking, you don't know. So there's no perfect charter, but it is the charter that can be amended if it's found lacking, which is why we are here. Feel impressed with my comments?
yes.
He said that, and I was like, I'm gonna remember that. I did. It's been some years now. Yes.
I would like to see a new, like the mayor's mandate mayor's not there, then the meetings are canceled.
Okay, so if mayor and vice mayor are not there, then reschedule the meeting?
They've still got a majority if there's 3 there.
Yeah, so
That's still a-
there's still majority.
That's still a quorum.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
anything need to vote.
all the votes are the same.
Anything that, for anything to pass council, it has to be done in the affirmative, so all 3 would have to vote yes. It's not just the majority of the 3, so 2 say yes and 1 say no. When you are at a quorum, and that's all you have there, it has to be done in the affirmative by all 3.
And it takes two separate votes for the ordinance.
Yes.
This is still, I mean, in 3 out of 5 is still a significant meeting number.
Okay, we'll discuss it.
Can I go backwards for a second after reading this?
Definitely.
First of all, it does say that you could be, you could forfeit your office if you were absent from 3 consecutive regular council meetings without being excused by the council.
Right.
We already have that in there with 3 consecutive. But you know what's strange?
So are they happy with 3 consecutive or is it just 3?
It says 3 consecutive. 3 might be, well, I would
Yeah,
go
so
along
like
with
this would
3.
be the conversation that they'll have, what is the level
I would go
of?
along with 3 if, you know, excuses by
That's awful harsh for a part-time job, for people to have to be here. How many council meetings are there? Are there 48? 48, I mean, you're telling people they can't have vacations, they can't be sick.
Well,
for a
then, so
part-time
that would be
job.
unexcused.
That would
So,
be-
But still, I mean, you're,
Where is excused time?
it's how the council defines it.
There's 2 business meetings and at least 1 workshop.
All right, so we'll
But the
discuss.
charter present only requires 1 meeting a month.
Yeah, that's true. So you'll be absent the other ones.
Well, the question was,
Maybe
is
they
it
should say
being
no.
required for the business meetings as well as the council meeting?
Change the requirement for attendance.
It is a part-time job. Only one pay.
When it was 9 grand.
Especially for the intelligence.
All right.
When it was 9 grand a year, that was ludicrous.
Well, that's why.
All right,
Choice
What else?
is-
The other thing about this that maybe I'm missing here, this is under the section B, forfeiture of office. The
Yep.
mayor or any other council member shall forfeit his or her office upon determination by the council acting as a body that he or she did any number of these 5 things. Certain committed a felony, misdemeanor, so on and so forth. Is that a simple majority of 4 people? So that's 3 of the 4 people? Is that what that
if it's a
means?
majority, yeah.
But it doesn't
If the
say,
mayor doesn't,
it does not say.
well, if it's a majority, that would just be the majority,
It
the mayor
doesn't,
can't.
Well-
it says, upon her office and determination of council acting as a body that he or she. So is that 3 of the 4 or is that 4 of the 4?
well, it's also, almost all of them are automatic. Like if it's a felony, or if the governor
Now,
has,
according to the charter, now.
yeah, but I'm saying that it
This
doesn't matter, if it comes out to a felony and the city council brings it up, it's automatic. It's not a voting sort of
Well-
thing.
Well, there are 5 items on here. One of them is absent from a meeting. Another one is found to have violated any standard of conduct or code. Another one is committing a misdemeanor. There's several things.
But the
Yeah,
conduct and code has to go through the governor to keep
But the
reading.
wording is for the council, this is for the council to do.
Yeah,
The wording says that they act as a body and then, that he or she did this thing. So
Okay.
is that a majority of the 4 or is that 5?
So we'll have the.
That's the
Well-
question. What is the power that you have here?
I'm trying to say is that the council doesn't need to vote on it. All of them are automatic.
No, you have a charter that says this.
I know, but it doesn't say anything about voting. It just says, if you find out that this guy has committed a felony, he's out. The city council has to just, that's it. It doesn't have to be a vote.
It's not voting, it's constituent.
It's an automatic thing.
There's a voting.
It doesn't say that.
It does, because it says that they're out. It mentions nothing about the council having to vote on it.
You said
Just them as a body has to say,
Body.
he has done this, that's it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, it's not clear because it says the council acting as a body determines that he or she will do it. What does that mean, acting as a body?
Yeah, so we'll clarify that.
Yeah. So, should it be a majority or should it be all four people acting as a?
It couldn't be a vote at all.
Yeah, that's if it's.
That's just it, it's not a vote. It is just, if a city councilman stands up and says, this other city councilman just got convicted of a felony, then it becomes an automatic thing.
No, you get that.
It's not stated like that.
I know, but that's what it's inferred, because they don't talk about voting.
You're looking at the 100% easy option. There's many other options that are.
All five of them are listed out.
Did he have three excused, three unexcused, or were they excused? You know, did we do that? Was that misdemeanor really in the line of duty or not? There's questions that are going to be asked.
So these will be discussed by the committee.
Right.
Yes.
Regarding the suspension of one of the council members, I would like to see that the Republican personally, or the people themselves would petition to remove that person, or that the person would resign. But the way they handle latest crisis was just not right, because you can find any petty excuse to get rid of your opponent.
All right, so suspension of a council, mayor, a council member, yes, the governor can remove. There is a process laid out in the Florida statute on how a recall election is done, so you just have, the state takes, you just follow the state's rules. And what was the third one that you said?
Okay, I would like to see either the governor removes, or the people petition to remove that person, or that person himself or herself decides to resign.
Okay, and that's up to the individual to resign or not. And if not, then it goes to the state piece or the governor. So that's kind of,
Yeah, but I would like to see no power to the rest of the council to decide that thing, because it can become political.
When it comes up for a vote, that's when it becomes political. These five things should be 100% black or white. If they did it, they're out. There's no defense from the council, there's no voting by the council. The council as a body has to be able to ethically and morally look at these things and say, oh, this guy, robbed a bank. Our councilman robbed a bank. It's a felony. He was convicted. He is no longer eligible to be on this council. It's not a voting
right,
thing.
it happens.
The council
So
is
we'll
not
clarify
here.
that.
Yeah.
That it happens.
We actually had a case in one council, a city council, that was the city, or another one that in the area, where one council member went to go out to the stamp all his items, and he was caught in camera. So somebody came in to help him, and we said, and he did the same thing. He eventually had to resign.
Yeah, well, there is a level of embarrassment that people think we step down, but some have a lot of fortitude, I'm going to put it that way.
So we can recall, under state law, we can recall any elected.
Yes.
We actually have the power, right now to do it.
Right, and that is, I don't have the number off the top of my head.
But they have,
but
they have to be
there's,
in office for at least 2 years.
no, there's a state by statute has a very specific process
Right.
of how to do it.
But you can't do it, they've already been in office for 6 months. You can't do a recall.
I have to reread the statute.
Because that.
I'm gonna throw something out, because I'd like to know, looking at the number of, districts we have, and the growth that we have, I'd be willing to see 2 new districts and add 2 new members to the council. Because I feel like, for as large as we are and as large as we're becoming, I feel like 2 more districts would I mean, 'cause let's face it, in the last few years that you look at our council, it's always been a majority one way or another, right? Like, we really don't get that many split votes. We get a 4-1, we get a 3-2, but adding 2 more districts, maybe opening the floor, I mean, I don't know, it's just a thought. I just think we're growing to the point where 2 more districts might be necessary.
I think 2 more seats are a good idea because it also, you talk about corruption, it's harder to corrupt more people.
More people. Yeah, exactly.
And I think you would have more of a representational vote, top of the city to that many more districts. And again, that district is just so they live in that area and they kind of know what's going on. But I
There should be a-
7 is a good number.
So what do you think of that idea?
There should be, I think it's got some validity to it. There should be a floor limit to how many people are in a district. Right now, it's what, about 25,000, I would guess. Since the cities,
30,000 is 4 of them,
yeah.
Yeah, but you gotta be careful with that because if you have like, we're not there, let's say we're Orlando, you have 50 people on a council. and you
Gotta-
can't get it
yeah,
done.
gotta-
I sit on a planning board with 7 members. I've sit on a few other boards, sometimes I had 9 members, and it was hard to do business with 9 members.
Yeah.
And there's some with 12 that are really, I don't know how big the council you were on.
7.
7.
But then there's Jacksonville has 19.
Yeah, but I think
19 possible.
7 is not bad, I mean, we worked with 7.
How many is on our planning board now? Our planning board?
Good. 7.
7, and that, I mean, seems to work for you.
It works.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying, why wouldn't we have the same number as the planning board?
I think 7 makes sense. This size is.
I mean, I just suggest, I mean,
We can figure
I was curious what
All
you
right,
guys
so
thought.
let's discuss
part of
the
the
pros and
problem-
cons of adding 2 more seats. More money.
Little, a small, what is our budget?
And then you
versus
have to
this one?
redo the dais a little bit, get more seats in there, more technology, microphones. I haven't been to the backside of your thing, but I think it all has.
Should be a hard
What is our budget?
The problem-
$600 million or something? Yeah, actually I do.
As much as I hate to say it, I'd like to see it go to 7. However, we have so much on the west side that is not been built yet. There will be people there. If we redistrict now, it will not include those.
Well, yeah, well.
I was thinking of including that now.
You'll keep capturing.
We have somebody out there with very few people.
We
So
can
the
look
next
at it
census
here.
will be the next time to probably do it.
This could be, there are different ways that you could do this. One, well, and again, it would have to go for the vote of the people, and that would be in the fall of,
2 years from now.
12 and 2 years from now.
28, no. We don't have much now.
26 would be the,
Next election.
is the next election. So then, then it would go to the 28th. And at that point, you're almost at the census time, and you can start looking at things. So like, this is a good time to start looking at whether you want to grow the council or not. And then if you do want to grow the council, then you also want to think, do you still want them all to be district? Or do you want some district, some at large?
Well, could we add 2 at large, and then in 28, expand the districts to absorb the 2 at large?
Then the 2 at large should have to move into that district.
But no, but then if you're, if
Or
it's
if
at
they want
large.
to run, or somebody that's in that new district could.
So when I say at large, I don't mean voted at large, I mean live anywhere at large.
No, I know, yeah.
Right, so you
One
can
comes before the
have,
other.
you can maintain your 4 district seats, and then have a mayor and 2 more seats there at large.
Actually,
But
And so this
now-
way, regardless of where you are, you have like some others.
Eddie, how many houses are for sale now? In Flagler County?
1,632. Ballpark, because that's not checked.
So we have to have a switch of 1,800 people move in after the 1,800 move in.
I mean,
So it's too soon to do it.
Keep in mind, the city has options to purchase 62,000 acres north and west of US 1.
Right, but not now.
They can do whatever they want, they have the option.
but that's why we would do it, see, that's why we're saying, those 2 extra positions right now would be at large, and then, because we already have them now, so now when we do the redistrict or add 2 other districts, because of the growth, then we would change them and put them in districts.
And they would have to move to the west side.
Or they, I mean, well, they would have to move to the west side, you would just, I mean, I
A
see.
district member would have to move to the west side, but an at-large wouldn't.
Oh, then we're not moving it.
Well, so it's not we aren't, it's what you all decide you want it to be. So what this is the conversation that will then go to the committee for them to figure it out on what they're going to move forward to the council, for them to figure out what they're going to move forward to you to vote on.
But at large, at 28 grand a year. If you want.
It's probably more like 35,000 a year, because you gotta remember, they voted themselves health insurance.
Only the mayor makes 36.
The council makes $24,029 a year. That's their salary right now.
Right.
They also voted themselves health insurance. Now, we don't know how much that health
Which
insurance.
is, it's about 26 grand.
Right, and that's done by ordinance, not by
Yeah.
charter. But these are going to be additional expenses for any additional council members.
You know, again, I would say that a budget as large as ours, we probably consume more fuel a day than what we're gonna pay this commission. I mean, I don't think the price of the cost of the commissioner, and say, oh, save $50,000 or whatever, outweighs the benefit of which you get by having a broader board. That's kind of what the people are looking for, the right representation and the right
The
ideas.
seats are there because the code enforcement also has 7.
All right, so,
The code enforcement board.
okay, so
also
the
has
dice
seven.
has
So the
seven.
Dias already has the computers and the software.
All right, so this is something that you want me to move along to the committee?
Yes.
If you want to take a vote in the room, I think we might see a majority.
It should be noted, it's gotta be based on population.
Yeah,
It
it
can't be
does
on
have to
expected population.
Right.
It's gotta be like,
be, okay, so are you
You're talking about
talking,
districts.
so when you're
I'm
talking.
talking about districts.
All right, so
She was
districts are
saying
always based
large,
on
maybe.
population.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
well, that's the way it's gotta be if we're
So
gonna
are
be
you saying that
expanding.
you add 2 more if the population goes above a certain?
See, that's the issue. I mean, we're talking
I
about,
think what she was saying was, you're doing 2 at large now. You don't know where this population is gonna be down the road. If you have 2 at large, you have a mayor and 2 people who are at large, and then the other ones are voted at a district. That was the one idea that, and I'm sorry, I won't say any name. Georgette.
Yeah, like I said, that's an idea, but the committee will then discuss what's going to work best for, Compost.
Just a point, the reason why the at-large is so important is because it opens up the door.
Just clarification, at large, you mean live anywhere at large, or?
Both, live anywhere at large and operate as a member of the council at large, because it allows people, there are people in the district that won't run and can't run because they maybe like the person who's already in the district, they don't want to run, but they're capable, and that may bring a different quality of candidate in as well, and maybe even open up to more people that want to try. So by having it at large is a great thing. That's my thing, because there are a lot of people that will run, but they won't run against certain people because they like it. And it really deflects that.
the issue with an at-large is that, hate to say it, but everybody's gonna be coming from the C section. We're gonna get a whole bunch of people that have money behind them, that are retired, so it's gonna be the same people that are able to be able to do this and able to outspend somebody that might be from the R section or from, elsewhere in
What are you
town.
saying, is our section poor?
W, I'm for W.
But that would
The
only
C
be
section
for
people are wealthier than
Two
us.
at large and one in the C section, that's only 3 votes out of 7.
But-
Yeah, I know, but
So
that's giving them outsized power.
But sir,
Wait,
For
so
their
this ends
area.
up going back to when you look, and this is a discussion that the committee is going to have is, should districts be voted at large?
That's the
If you
issue
have
with at-large,
If you
is
have
that-
at-large individuals, should districts still be voted at large, or should districts be voted in districts, and at large be voted at large? And this is stuff for the committee to dig into.
But we can have both, right?
Yeah, you don't have to have both. So where I was, we had 3 at-large, 3 districts, and the mayor.
I think that, Georgia, I think that's a compromise, is between the two ideas, all totally at large and all district, is that the districts and then put two more at large, giving you a mayor and two others at large. Like Perry was saying, you get more qualified candidates who, just because the guy across the street is a current incumbent and he doesn't think he can win against it, he won't run.
May I just address the gentleman, what's your name, sir?
Barry.
Well, my name is Perry, and
That's easy.
I have to say, one thing we have to know is that the voters are smart. And you know, if they don't like the fact that there's 9 people coming out of the C-section with some money to run, they probably won't vote for it. I mean, we gotta hope that that's the case, but a lot of people don't look at the candidates. So we have to hope that voting is important. So.
I just want to reiterate, I really like that we have districts. I like that we at least have someone we can talk to, and that person is from our area, and that they're not these carpetbaggers coming in to represent us. And I know it's a mild representation, and it's a weak city council and everything, but it's still, it prevents the wealthier people of this town from having an outsized voice, because wealth buys offices, especially when you're adding 2 offices. It's going to be people that get the most advertising, that can get the most time and effort put into this. And so I'm not saying that there aren't any good candidates coming from the C-section or you know, wherever else where there's this sort of thing, but it just makes it unbalanced.
Okay.
And we've got a very good democratic area here. And that's the beginning of being unbalanced, is having seats that cover everybody.
Right, no, if they're all one way, or so you don't want any at-large seats?
No, the mayor's enough. That's an at-large seat. So that's what I mean by we've got to wait until we grow into areas in order to make new districts, instead of trying to, because I just have no faith in the money and the corruption that I've seen happening. It's just, money buys a lot in this town.
And I see where he's coming from, but I'm more apt, I think we get the less corruption, or, not that there's, I mean, we're saying use the word corruption.
Yeah.
But I would prefer, I mean, I would love to wait for the district, you know, to add 2 districts, but I really think adding 7 people and having that larger commission, that council, would kind of relieve the public, knowing that there's more of an opportunity, because the votes have to go. I mean, adding those 2 other people is going to make a big difference. But I also have another question. I mean, how do people feel about our weak mayorship? I mean, do we keep the weak mayorship?
You want to change the fundamentals.
You don't have a weak mayor form of government, you have a council manager form of government.
Right, the idea is,
He's talking about the city manager, mayor relationship.
look at the qualifications that we are hiring a city manager. These people, I mean, the city manager has to know everything, the sewer, the garbage, the personal relations, everything, they have to know everything. And it's a very hard position, and the only few people who can do that, they get $180,000, $200,000 to do that job. That's a certain type of person. Anybody can be elected a mayor, and then if you let that person perhaps run your city, you may be less served. But I think paying for a good quality person makes more sense than just trying to, because again, you get elected by standing on the corner with a sign over you, an A-frame sign, you know, at the corner of Palmdale Parkway. And this has happened before. There's no qualification.
Right now, the mayor and the city council have absolutely no power, no political power outside of their council room. And the only political power they have is if 2 other council people vote the way they want to. They don't have the power to make edicts. They can't do proclamations. They have no political power to hire or fire beyond that which the council has. And that's a good thing. It is a completely separate thing, are 2 things that go. Yeah, I know, I'm just explaining.
But it's also interesting to note that for the last 2 years, we've had a temporary assistant unpicked. Well, I think the city council did vote to put her in that position, but she didn't have the makeup of the people we're looking at now.
But she had the
She had been
qualifications that
I'm
were.
not saying.
But she didn't have to go through any of the stuff that they now they have their
All I'm
candidates
trying
on.
to say is for the last 2 years, the city has functioned with a city manager who's never intended to be the city manager, and we still function.
She's
Well,
been
we were in a
around.
different
Oh,
personality.
no doubt. But I'm just pointing out, the last 2 years, the city has not had that strength of a city manager.
No point. One thing that I think we probably should look at is forcing the council to adopt, whether it's an ordinance or in the charter, I think it's an ordinance, that when they tap someone within the organization to be a temporary, that they are just temporary, that they should go back to their job. Because these people that are employees that get tapped to fill in a spot, they're just filling in the spot, and then all of a sudden they get fired. You know, that's wrong. And they were tapped to fill in the spot, they stepped up, it's a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. They're not adequately trained to be the city manager, as Mark said, but at the end of the day, we're looking for a city manager that has those qualifications, the education level, and the management skills to do the job. These people are just temporary, and they should only be just temporary. The council should be forced to have a deadline, no matter what, 6 months, 4 months, so that that person knows it's just temporary. This way to keep the ship floating, you know, and they don't fire a lot of people, or they don't hire a lot of people, they don't make a lot of mistakes that inexperienced management would make. And whether it's ordinance or charter, they need to be forced to put a city manager in place, and that ends that
They
problem.
had a deadline, but the two people resigned.
Well, then they need to
Said,
get,
hey,
then they
we
need
don't
to
want to
move on.
get in this mess.
Then they need to get on it, you know,
All
they
right,
need to do.
we'll have that as discussion. You were getting to something that I thought you wanted a little bit of a different direction. Citizen referendum and initiatives.
I didn't,
You talk about Article 9, Section 2.
Over there.
yeah, I didn't see that in here.
I just finished reading.
Article 9, Section 2 is the most powerful part of the charter for the citizens. It gives 10% of the registered voters of the city of Palm Coast the ability to challenge any ordinance, and force a reconsideration of that ordinance by the city council. If you can get the signatures of 10% of the registered voters, you can force reconsideration. If the council does not substantially change that under the reconsideration, then it has to go on the ballot at the next regularly scheduled general election and re-get the voters.
When was the last time
You need
that
about
happened?
7,000 signatures.
Doesn't happen.
I tried it.
I know.
I'm the only person I think in the history of Palm Coast that ever tried this.
Yes.
I got 2,000 signatures, but I was doing it by myself. We do need an organized group, but we still, just because it's difficult, doesn't mean it's impossible.
Are you suggesting a change that?
No, I'm saying.
That's what I want. I wanted to hear what your.
But it gives us the ability to fight back. Any ordinance the city passes, we have the power to fight back
Because
against it.
that, as you know, 10% is a high bar.
And you've got to pay 10 cents per signature for the elected off the ballot. So it does cost a little bit of money. So it costs $700 if you got 7,000
Are you
signatures.
suggesting
Yeah,
a
and
lower
so
bar?
the bar is not that high, so
Right.
you're not trying to overturn everything that gets passed.
Well,
But-
a commission, the city's council passes this, so this is actually, you know.
This has to go back to you.
Right, I know, but this is something that they wouldn't want.
Well, it depends.
It's already in there.
Yeah,
No,
it's
it's a lower
there.
bar.
We got 2 hands up over here.
So,
Oh, sorry, Kurt, I'm not talking about yours. She's got 2 hands up. You have another one. Sorry.
All right, salaries of the city council members and the mayor, if they have an increase, we the people are going to vote for it. Because last time what they did was not pay this, and people did not like it.
Well, right now, the salaries, council can vote in a salary for themselves, but the salary does not start until after the next election. So then, so they get to give them, they might not be in those seats when that
But
happens.
they actually did that happen.
No, they took this out.
They took the salary, so what do they do about it?
Well, it's stated in what I just said is stated in the charter.
Yeah.
Now, you could put something that, it's your charter. So that if a council member votes on a salary increase, or if the council votes on a salary increase and it passes, no member of the sitting council shall receive that increase. They'll stay at their base salary.
You just change the word ordinance to referendum, that's all you gotta do.
I don't think.
Oh, we're talking about the salaries.
I talking about the salary.
Oh, okay.
Right now, the city council has the power to set percent or compensation, not just salary, compensation by ordinance. You simply take the word ordinance out, you put in referendum, that means we vote on it. Then you don't have to worry about when it applies. At least that's my opinion.
Okay, but the city
Maybe
council
they're trying to
people
spend
were only earning $9,000.
$9,600.
I'm sorry?
$9,600 is what they earn. The mayor earns $11,100. I'm not arguing with the fact that they deserve the raise. I'm arguing with the fact that no elected official should have the power to set their own compensation. That's what I'm
Everybody
arguing.
did.
All right,
It
so,
doesn't mean it's right.
Every board.
No, the county
Shall
commission salaries is set by state law.
so we can put this back to the committee to discuss, but one of them is for the elected officials, their salaries should have to go to a vote of the citizens, or like, if they vote for it, they don't get to benefit from that vote.
Can I tell you the counter argument to that, which is that, like you said, your compensation right now is so low that unless you're a retired person or you have money behind you, all of the meetings that are required, all the commitments that's required, not just the meetings, would preclude a working man from probably doing this. It's such a small amount of money. They gotta pay their rent, pay their mortgage, and put food on the table for the kids. And by making it a referendum, a lot of people just assume, oh, we're not gonna pay those people, we're not gonna pay them, and you're really closing the door again on a very minute percentage of your budget is paying these commissioners.
Well, there's a counter
It's
thing.
not only the city
that's-
council meetings they have to attend, they have all
The-
of the other.
Yeah, they have a lot of
meetings and
people.
boards.
Right, he's saying that they're not getting paid enough.
Under minimum wage to do this.
The city
Yeah,
council
very
has,
effective.
the city council's created their own jobs too. Just 5 years ago, we didn't have the workshop meetings, and the actual voting meetings were far less lengthy. They go through so much stuff over and over again. They're seemingly incapable of coming to a decision and just going with it. So they've got these artificially long meetings where instead of it being 2 or 3 hours a week, which is what it was when this whole thing started, they're up to 12, 14
It
hours
was
a
like
week.
that all day, because they talk about the same thing.
Yeah, over and over
I mean,
again.
they literally talk about paint for, 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
Paint.
longer, I mean, went through 2 different councils.
Lights, chickens.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, it's-
it seems like they're not, I mean, this is not one topic, they're just not making the decisions and moving forward. After they make a decision, they're going back and saying, hey, well, maybe we need to do this.
That's because they're listening to the people at the 3-minute.
They need to start making decisions rather than just listening to phone calls. They've got a phone call, then I think that this whole thing of them having to work so long and be compensated is entirely their own fault. They're inefficient and they're taking way too much time for a small government.
Well, that's something that the charter doesn't fix.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But that's
But-
something that the voters fix.
Yeah,
I
Yes.
move on to one more, that
Yes, because we have 11 minutes.
we have 11 minutes.
Well, I wanted, you want to say bye to all and stuff, so 11.
Article 4, Section 11.
Article 4, Section 11.
Non-interference by city council. I don't understand, nor is it clear, the consequences of failing, and it's unclear what such action shall be malfeasance within the meaning of the Florida statutes. So that needs
All right,
a
clarity
visit or
there.
review or an interpretation,
Got it.
maybe by a third party, something. It doesn't have any teeth to it.
All right.
To that
Well,
point,
you had one.
if somebody, if a council member violates the charter, shouldn't that be one of the 6 items that they may be removed from?
Well, that one wouldn't be an automatic removal, so we'll have to address all of this.
Okay. I did have one
But
other
we
thing.
did have one more.
It's a dumb
One
thing
thing, right,
anyway.
yeah.
The city records have to be by a book.
Well,
Why aren't they making that electronic stuff instead of book?
we still have books.
I know.
So I'm sure somewhere in the world there's like it's physically somewhere, but it goes into MuniGov. So when all of these new laws and ordinances and charter changes, that goes up into MuniGov.
Right.
I will verify that.
There's a physical book.
Is there a book
Or
somewhere?
are we moved on from that? Is that no longer need to be a book, it could be a digital record or
I
whatever?
like books. The weight of a book, the smell of a book, the feel. But yeah, I'll look into it.
And it doesn't mess your eyes up, blue one.
Yeah. Well, that was,
4, 9.
all right. Anything else, like takeaways? We have, yes.
Speaking of books, just to be on the funny side, I was born in France, and I had those books, I still have them. And if I want a copy of my birth certificate, they open the book, and they say, here it is, and go turn the book over the copier, and I get it right now.
Yeah, they have good arms to pick up those books and get on the top here. I like that. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for your participation, the vibrant discussion. A lot of great points were discussed, and a lot of pieces for the committee to chew on during their committee meetings, going over this charter. So, thank you again. I wish you all the best evening. Drive safely going home. And if you have any questions, they all know how to contact me. Go ahead if you want, just Google it. I pop up in a lot of places. I get most of the emails. There's not too many people who think they're a cat. What up with that? Oh, but in France they're all Georgette. So thank you very much. Drive safe, everyone.
Thank you for doing a good job.
Yeah.